boy, I didn't know I needed a Detective Pikachu in my life, but I really want to go see this movie.
Yeah, so I actually was a little disappointed in it, to be honest.
No.
I'm definitely in the minority on that. It's getting rave response, especially from Pokemon fans, and I think it's one of those films that most people had no expectations for. That when they saw that first trailer, they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, this actually looks pretty good." And I will say, the movie looks really good. I think right away
Mhm.
when you get to got the name Rhyme City. There's this metropolis that Pokemon and humans live in harmony together. There's no battling. There's no capturing, and they're just kind of chilling in a city. And it's got a very like kids movie meets Blade Runner vibe, where you get like the noir colors of it all, and the whole story is, the name might suggest, is there's a mystery going on. So Detective Pikachu, and there's literally a Humphrey Bogart movie, black and white movie on TV for a brief moment, and it's definitely a nod to those kind of old school detective movies. But visually, I thought it looked really cool, and the Pokemon overall, I think the CGI is effective, and they do feel like they're part of the world,
Mhm.
which is definitely something that needed to work. If that was not successful, nothing else would have mattered. So they definitely nailed that. Me, ultimately, my issue with it was just it's rated PG,
Mhm.
and it's ultimately just a kids movie. And the plot is simple, easy to predict, and just a little juvenile. And I don't know. I guess I wanted it to be a little smarter than it was, And I think maybe Ryan Reynolds voicing Pikachu uh, gave me unfair expectations. I was kind of wanting him to be more Deadpool-y, and he has lots of great one-liners and quippy comments, but they were just a little few and far between for me to keep me going because I thought the story was ultimately a bit of a bore for me. So uh, disappointed in that regard. But there's a lot of cool nods for Pokemon fans. I mean,
Mhm.
this and like there's nods to like the show and the games, like Squirtle hanging out with the firefighters and Growlithe with the cops and a Jigglypuff putting someone to sleep in a restaurant while singing, and touchstones for people that have known about Pokemon for some time.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it goes across all the genres. You see Pokemon from all over, but as you can imagine, you see mostly the original 150, and Mewtwo's in this, as you see in the trailer.
I
So
was gonna ask about that. How is what is Mewtwo's role within the story?
yeah, Mewtwo is in again, he's interesting, but it's like the kind of like archetype he plays in the movie is something we've seen before. And if it was, if, I wish this movie was rated PG-13. I just wish it had a little punched up just a little bit more. I understand why it wasn't that, but you could have done even more with Mewtwo. I think there's this twist at the end that I won't spoil. Twist at the very end that I didn't even notice at the time that I started thinking about. It was actually like, it's very very illogical. It's regarding Pikachu and
Mhm.
regarding Pikachu, and it's just something weird that I didn't suspect. But ultimately, I think it's a successful movie for what it's trying to do. And video game adaptations has a very poor track record. I mean, we reviewed Tomb Raider beginning of last year, and I think that was a movie that was inoffensive at best and forgettable at worst. Wasn't really bad per se, and honestly a step in the right direction. I think Detective Pikachu has enough like visual flair and personality that it stands out, and it'll be naturally compared to Sonic the Hedgehog once that comes out. And given the reaction to the Sonic trailer, we can probably imagine how that will go. But you know, Detective Pikachu is existing on a curve. It's existing as a video game movie and one made for kids. So it's tough to be too critical of it. But yeah, I think it's definitely a watch for anyone who has any Pokemon knowledge. But if you don't know anything about Pokemon, really, like of Pikachu and that's about it, you're kind of just thrown in, and it might not be that interesting to you unless you're just cool with a simple story.
It's interesting because I expected this to dethrone Avengers at the box
Me too,
office, and it didn't.
domestically.
So I'm wondering, one, does that mean Avengers might actually get there and surpass Avatar as the highest grossing movie? It slowed down quite a bit. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's comment on that. It seems like it's probably going to get really, really close to Avatar, if not
mhm,
beat it for the worldwide record. But there's basically no chance that it can beat Force Awakens for the domestic record now.
yeah.
It's actually dipped below the Force Awakens pace now, after 3 weeks. So that's bad news given the big slate of competition only coming for Endgame. So yeah, it's I think Detective Pikachu had a good launch, and it won one country over Endgame, Japan. Shocker. Um, but I think I would not be surprised if this has some decent legs as a again PG movie, a kids movie, and
Mhm.
as more and more people see Endgame, they're gonna look for something else to see. And John Wick 3 is definitely much more concentrated to a certain demo. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
So I think this will have a really good second weekend, and it does deserve it. And then, whether what is cool about this movie is that it doesn't have any obvious setup for a sequel. I thought that was a big issue with Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider did a lot of time like attempting to set up more and kind of rushing past the basic stuff that it needed to do in the first movie.
Mhm.
Detective Pikachu is very self-contained, which makes sense considering it's based off a very small scale 3DS game, and they didn't try and tackle like blue version the game and make some
Yeah.
grand epic adventure tale. It's not quite that, and I think that was a really good choice. And you're starting small, and whether this leads to more Pokemon movies or Super Smash Brothers universe, as a lot of people are
Mhm.
praying for, we'll see. But a little too kiddie for me at the end of the day. But I'm not hating.
Yeah. I really wonder, what it would be like for a Pokemon, like,
Mhm.
trilogy where it followed, like, the original games or something like that. I guess you
Yeah,
can't do the original, but, like, where they broke it up where it's, like, the first half of the gym, second half of the gyms, and you take on the final. I forgot they're called, the league or whatever.
Elite Four,
Yes, Elite Four. Thank you. Um,
the Pokemon League.
I think that could be cool depending on like which Pokemon they chose and who was cast in it. But
Yeah,
uh,
they've done some cool like YouTube shorts on like the Pokemon channel and little like anime shorts, and it is a surprisingly rich world. Obviously, a lot of that is that the fact that there's like 800 fucking Pokemon now. There's tons of them, right?
mhm,
But it's a lived-in world as far as anime worlds go, and I don't know. I would be curious what kind of sequel they would make because you have a small scale story. You have Justice Smith and Catherine Newton as these two kids, and they're like they're your adult human leads. But you can't make a sequel without Detective Pikachu. And I think having Detective Pikachu, Ryan Reynolds voicing this uh, anthropomorphic Pikachu that is like a jokester and works with cops, like I feel like that kind of limits your 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 uh, your runway for what you can
yeah.
do at a sequel. So maybe it'll be a one-off, and no problem with that.